Let's go.
Hello, I won football. Not even. He's lying. We don't listen to her. We won. Don't listen to her. We won 1,700 to.
Hey, it's Mandy and Felice, and we're with Native Store. Since emergence, our people, Indigenous people, had and continue to have sophisticated intellectual and dynamic learning systems, epistemologies, and ways of knowing. That transmission of knowledge occurred through storytelling and the oral tradition, which is still prevalent in our communities today. Dr. Tessie Naranjo from the Pueblo Santa Clara said, "Storytelling helps us move from one generation to the next, carrying the stories of our past with us. Through stories, there is always the hope that the young ones will become responsible for and carry on the cultural knowledge of the elders. Our stories speak about the endurance, stamina, strength, and longevity of our people. We are here for the long run." Why do I run? This fall 2018 semester has been one of the most challenging semesters I've ever had because, in a sense, the trauma that I've experienced since I was a little girl has caught up to me, and it's impacted me in ways that I couldn't foresee happening this semester. And 6 weeks ago, I went to get professional help for the first time, and one of the recommendations is to exercise at least 30 minutes a day because it's a natural antidepressant. And so since that point, I've been working out about 6 times a week, and most of the exercise that I do is running. And running has been a way for me to relieve stress and anxiety, and it's provided an outlet for me to clear my mind, but then also to consider, what I'm called to do. And so running is a way of life for me, especially in this season of time, because it rejuvenates me and it helps me to think clearly. And so I run for myself, for my mental well-being, and for my health. And as my professor said too, she told me, she's like, run for those of us who can't run. Goatsi, Kaltuista, Eshashka Tsana Hanusta, Guishi Sao, Bahopba, Stroawi Shatza, Straneshtia, Strawamatsani. My name is Amanda Jeremiah, and I am a runner. I'm from the Pueblo of Laguna tribe, which is located in New Mexico, and I'm a doctoral student in higher education at the University of Arizona. As I have used running as a tool to help me in my healing process, I set out on a journey to learn from other Indigenous runners why they run, what do they think about when they run, and how has running influenced their positionality and well-being within the academy and beyond.
Judam Jigik, Jesse Navarro, Nyaki, Jukshantam, Banyagahaj, and Sapoitak Amaja, Walgiwur Jukshan. Good afternoon. My name is Jesse Navarro. I come from the Bear Clan. I reside in Tucson, Arizona, and my family comes from the Babakari District, Coldfields community on the Tohono Nation.
I'm Karen Francis Begay. I'm a citizen of the Navajo Nation, originally from Chinle, Arizona. I've grown up most of my life in Tucson, been here about 36 years. And in terms of my Navajo introduction, we usually introduce ourselves with our 4 clans. My maternal clan is Tapahi, and I'm born for Kia'ani, which is Towering House people. And my other clans on for my grandparents are Nakai Dene, which is Mexican people clan, and then the 4th clan is Ponagatni, which is one who wanders around. I work for the University of Arizona, been there for 25 years, currently serve as Assistant Vice President for Tribal Relations. My work involves a lot of different things, outreach, supporting our Native programs, our students, fostering a positive campus climate for our students, and really trying to advance academic success of our Native students, engage tribal leaders, create visibility for the university, a lot of different things.
Guatsi, Kaidoa Straight Troshk, Say Hopa. My name is Roylene Ross. I am from the Pueblo of Laguna, and I am a Guishi girl, which basically means I'm from the village of Powati. I am the mom of 2 very beautiful women, Amanda and Meredith Jeremiah, who have been my life for the last 33 years. One of the reasons I started running was for the strength of my children.
Washte Isaac Omagiabi Machbiachin Hude Omagiabi Oma Wodopana Nakota Oyate Dene Oyate. Hello, my name is Isaac, and my Indian name is Shoots the Sky. I am from Arley, Montana. My tribes are Nakota, the canoe paddling band of the Nakota people. I am also Navajo. I grew up in Arley, Montana. Is on the Flathead Indian Reservation, home to the Salish and Confederate Salish Kootenai tribes. Arley is a small town. My graduating class was 23.
Hi, my name is Alpha Joy Smith. I am currently a senior at the College of Public Health at the University of Arizona. I am biracial. I am Navajo and Filipino, and I grew up here in Tucson, Arizona.
Luasam Shaniba and Nepo Lydia. Hi, I'm Lydia. I'm part of the Pasquayaki and Huichol tribes, and I am a PhD candidate at the University of Arizona. I study soil, water, and environmental sciences, specifically mining reclamation, or how to clean up mining sites using plants and bacteria. And then my minor is in American Indian policy and really understanding why in Arizona we have so many mines on or bordering tribal nations. And both of these interests have really stemmed from my love of the land and from running, which has been my primary way of exploring the land. And now, as I'm a PhD candidate, it's really this prime opportunity to merge these 2 interests and foster opportunities for future Indigenous scholars.
Here at the University of Arizona, I'm Sheila Nicholas. That's my Western identity and maybe academic identity, but I also consider myself a Hopi woman. I am privileging that for the most part in public venues now. I would introduce myself as Nilkotahun Manayan Hopi Matsiwa, ne kalwangwa ne songopangaksino ne muyita bu ahulat nata nikyang ne because hainem nit Milton Nicholas amamiwangwa. Tewanima, that's how you would pronounce his name, Louis Tewanima. For me, I knew him as my tata. That's what I called him. And it was many years later that I would understand that he was my clan father. He lived in the village of Songopavi on Second Mesa on the Hopi Reservation. When I knew him, he was just an elder man who would be very visible in the village, walking and visiting homes because everybody knew him. That's how I knew him. I didn't know him as a young man. I didn't know him anything other than as an elder man. The stories I heard about him later were that he was an Olympian representing the United States as a member of the track team of the Carlisle Indian boarding school in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Yat A. Shay Tiffany Sorrel Unishia, Tapahan Nishlin, Kintlichini Bashichin, my deskijin dashiche do Tweheglini dashinale. My name's Tiffany Sorrel, and I just introduced myself in my 4 clans. I'm from the Navajo Nation, and our 4 clans are, how we identify ourselves, our people, and our relative. That's why I introduced myself in that way. I was born in Chinle, Arizona, and I went to Wind Rock High, and I am a 7th year PhD student in the study of higher education and a minor in American Indian Studies. My research focuses on Native American cultural values and the importance of maintaining our cultural values in higher education, so using it as a tool of strength while we're navigating the institution.
Hello, my name is Alejandro Higuera. I'm part of the Pasco-Yaqui tribe here in southern Arizona, and I'm a runner.
Gamo hudu ninga tagyo harshana katama jawak. Gamo hudu ninga tagyo harshana katama jawak. Upo him hudu ninga tagyo we nyoy wa marachutak. Siaringa muchiwa nyoy wa marachuta tashai. Tora ringa kingi ko kom. Autumn men were always known to be runners. We ran everywhere. We would run to the ocean. To gather salt for trade, for ceremonial purposes. We're also messengers, so we'd always run from village to share what news was happening at that time. As warriors, we would always be running against the enemy. Running was always a part of life for the men. I run because it helps me to ground myself with my life. I run because it helps me to interact with nature, with my elements around the earth, but also to rethink about where things are at in my life, and to really release stress and any hurt, negativity that I have in my body, and so that way I can start fresh the next day.
Running is medicine. I run partially to honor my family. Most of my family members are runners. I run for myself to clear my mind, clear my body, and then really connect with the landscape spiritually. As you know, I'm an environmental scientist, so sometimes I think, especially while in school, you can get really caught up in all these other things, and when I run, it reminds me exactly why I'm doing this, because I love the land so much, and I feel like it's my responsibility to be a good future ancestor, and that means caring for the land that I love in both my career but also in my passions.
Running is just it's like it's almost like a stress reliever. Like if like I'm having a bad day or something, there'd be sometimes like I don't like when I have my runs, I gotta like man, like I really don't want to, like I don't feel like running, but then like once you get going and running, like you're just like all these positive thoughts come in. I start thinking about how I can become better, how much more I should run, but it's just like trying to overcome that, like, man, I really don't want to run, but like once you start running, it's just like, oh wow, like I feel good, my mind's great, and like, so yeah, there's a lot of other reasons I run. It's important to my culture.
I run to stay in shape, or somewhat cardio shape. I wouldn't say I'm actually in shape, but I like running because it helps me keep my mind off of whatever may be happening in my life. It's a source of escape from reality, and I just think it's a good break from what's going on.
I run because it calms my anxious heart kind of thing. I have a lot of stressors. I'm taking on new challenges, and they're challenges that really push me, and sometimes it kind of pushes me into a corner that I don't feel that I'll be successful, or if something I've never done, I'm just kind of scared, to be honest. And with running, it kind of takes that edge off. It's a healthy way for me to get that negative energy out in exchange for positive thoughts and energy. When I was younger, I didn't do healthy outlets, so this is a nice change for me to better my health, better myself. It's really a reminder of how far I've come in my own life.
I actually started cross country because I couldn't play basketball in middle school. So in 6th grade, they don't let you play basketball. You have to be 7th or 8th grader. As a way to train for basketball season, I thought it would be a good idea to do cross country. And so I had no running experience or anything. And when I took the permission slip home to my parents, they were like, "Are you sure that you're understanding what this is? It's long distance running, for miles." And I was just like, sure, I can do it. And so they were pretty hesitant, and on my first day of practice, I probably couldn't even make it, not even half a mile. Starting from that and pushing myself to continue. One of my friends actually quit midway, and I wanted to because I was like, my friend's not here, there's no point. And my mom was the one who was like, no, you started this, so you need to finish it. I just kept pushing myself a little bit further and further every day, and by the end of the season, I was making it onto varsity, and I just started to realize how much I liked to push myself and how good I was getting at it. And so I stuck with it and ran at Windrock High School, and I was a runner-up, state champion. I got recruited to run for the University of Arizona, and I started there, and next level of running was very challenging, but I did learn a lot.
I started running back in 1998. I sort of have these spurts where I'll run for a good 2 years and then I stop for like another 2 years. But I think I've gotten a lot more consistent in the last maybe 5 years. I think mostly attributed to just coming to realizations about different things that can really impact your health, and seeing running as a good way to maintain fitness, but also really understand more about your diet and how that plays a key part in how it is how that affects your physical ability, just as much as, there's things beyond your control, illnesses that might. So I think it's just as you get older, you become to appreciate your body, and you want to enjoy life. And one way to do that is to stay fit. So I run mostly for fitness, to maintain my weight. I don't like going through a day where I feel really tired, and I've most of the time I sit in meetings all day. I just need something to keep me physically active, keep me moving, keep my blood flowing. It's also a great way to meditate and sort of get a lot of things off your mind and focus on positive things.
Running has been my sanctuary. But it's also in my DNA, as it is in the DNA of the Pueblo people in the Southwest. The runners, who were also the messengers in the Pueblo Revolt of 1680, were critical to that historic event. Initially, running was part of a physical fitness program with regard to my occupation. Then it became a way to mitigate diabetes and stress. Today, running has a spiritual component for me. This is where I pray for my children, my family, and for a better world. This is where I also honor my ancestors and those that have come before me. Running also provides me the space and a place to release the heaviness that I carry with me.
I was an avid runner in probably my late 20s. There was a group of us colleagues who were teachers that got together and we started running. And because I was the only Native American member in that group and in that friendship circle, they started just calling me the Hopi Runner and things like that. And I never really thought about it. I just ran. I can't remember the exact year, but they started hosting on the reservation a memorial run for Tewanima. And I ran in the second one that they ever held. It was held in the village of Kikotsmovi. And it was 12 miles, I believe. Maybe it was 10K and 12 miles. I don't remember the exact mileage. But I just remember from that moment on, like all of a sudden, this idea of connecting to the tradition of running in Hopi started to kind of surface for me, because I never really thought about it in those terms before. I'm not running anymore, but I can still recall all the routes that I would take all over Tucson. During those times when I was starting to connect it to the tradition of running, sometimes I would get some conversation from people saying, well, you come from a line of runners, and just not realizing that connection with Tewanima at the time. I just saw recent pictures of myself as during that period of time, and I was like lean thin. I mean, I just looked like a string. It just kind of looked weird, especially at the time, because I used to perm my hair, so I looked really kind of weird. But it was other people who oftentimes positioned me or situated me into this tradition of Hopi running. I just never really thought of it that way. It was just a very personal sense of well-being. His first run was in 1908 in London, and then he went back again as an Olympian event in Stockholm, Sweden in 1912, and there he won the silver medal for the 10,000 meter run, which he held for until Billy Mills broke his record. Why did he run? I believe that it wasn't so much an analysis of why did he run, it was part of how he grew up, going to the cornfields on Hopi and maybe to the sheep camps on Hopi that were very vital in his time. But there were very few cars owned by Hopi people during his time. A lot of men, it was just tradition to go and probably run to their fields. Also, young men and young people, but probably young men more so, were always instructed to get up early and run towards the sun and to get there before the sun rose, because the teaching is that if you go after the sun runs, the sun rises, you burden the sun, so you help the sun along in its journey across the sky for the day by being there to carry that load. So I think he just ran as part of his training as becoming a Hopi person. It was just part of the principles and ethics and discipline of always taking care of your body and mind and spirit, because when you do run, all of those things come together and you always have a good mind. Memorable stories that they have about him is that he ran so much that sometimes he would run 60 miles to Winslow, Arizona, just to see the train go by and then turn around and go back. So that would be a total run of 120 miles. I've heard that over and over again, but I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't have done that, because he was an avid runner. And it wasn't unusual. It was just part of our history of the running tradition. I'm not too sure also if he ran for other things, because running was a part of our ceremonies. Oftentimes, especially for the women's basket dance, it's preceded with a run. And the men would run prior to the women coming out to dance, and they would be recognized with some of the artifacts that the women wove, like a basket or a plaque of some sort. The belief is that if you came in first as a runner at that ceremony, then you really had the community at heart. So it's never about running for an individual purpose or an individual winning or a very personal thing. It was about community. And so if you came in first, the community looked at you as someone who ran for the whole people, for all the people. And that was very powerful. I think he just was part of that tradition. It was just something that was part of being Hopi.
in high school when I ran track, like you'll know who my mom is in the stands.
He's got him! Get him, yes!
Reiterating that just kind of like touches my heart though, but like it's just like it's exciting, like just hearing that voice in my head, like let's go, like she's awesome, and that just like those two things kind of like give me like an extra boost to like mentally come over that obstacle in my head, saying like I can't do this, so like you can. Someone like helps me go over or get over that mental obstacle. Just thinking about them.
When I run, I think about everything, and sometimes I think about nothing. I contemplate my future. I contemplate my present. Running provides me clarity and gives me a space where I can make decisions. Sometimes running provides me the best opportunity to strategize and brainstorm things I've been thinking about.
Because I do it early in the morning, there's a couple of things right away. I usually start off with prayer, asking for guidance and strength to get through the day, appreciating a lot of things in my life, and then immediately my mind goes to thinking about my work day, because I usually run on the weekdays, is kind of thinking about what's coming up and mentally how I prepare for that. And then I also start thinking a lot about family.
I come up with some of the best ideas for my research or for, relationship problems or whatever else while I'm running, because I think it silences your body so that your mind can really think, and also so your mind and your heart can connect in a way that I don't think I can other ways. Running is also really prayer and praying through your feet, and I think that's why I feel so connected to all of my body and my spirit and my mind when I'm running, and my heart, I should say, when I'm running, because if you want to talk about your body meridians, right, it's connecting all of those different things with the land again, and it just makes me feel really good. And science will tell you that all these endorphins are being released, and you're seeing beautiful places and you're not under fluorescent lights, and that's the power of being outdoors on the trails and running. Running has always been a way of grounding myself. Sometimes you just have really bad days and it makes you feel really shitty. Or just things aren't working, my data analysis isn't working, or my experiment's not working, or someone said something that was really offensive, or I question why I'm doing this. And then I go out for runs, and again I'm on the landscape, and I go out into a vista, and I just see how small I am in the grand scheme of things, and I feel those endorphins running through me, and I know that I can put my mind to anything. I know as I'm doing these different runs, if I can make it up these mountains that I'm running on, I know I can make it in the academy. It's a mental type of mountain that I'm climbing up, but at the end of the day, I'm going to get to that vista point, and I'm going to reflect and be really thankful that I did it. But just getting up sometimes to go run in the morning, and you're I don't want to do this, or you're at mile 26 of a marathon, and you're why did I think this is mile 24, I should say, and you're why did I think this is fun to do? At the end, you're always really grateful you did it, and that's how I know I'm going to feel at the end of this PhD.
I think about everything. I think about what I have to do for work. I think about people that have helped me. I think about my dad, who's no longer here on earth. I think about the things I learned from him, and I'm trying to be better for him too, as well as my mom. But I think about him and my uncle and my godfather, these men that I was around growing up, and I try to better myself because I want to be like them.
Coming here, especially with how long my hair is. There wasn't like bad looks. It just like looks like whoa. Yeah, it's really long hair. I guess I don't like pay attention to it much, really. I'm here representing myself and my own Native American people. So I don't really like focus on that part of how people look at me. Just as long as I put good in the world, it'll always come back. That's whatever you put out in the world, like it's gonna come back to you. So like if you put positivity out in the world, it'll come back. Put negativity out the world, it'll come back to you. You think of me, you probably think really long hair.
When I assumed a faculty position, I really let go of all those things that kept me in good physical condition. I sort of gave that up because all my time then was devoted to reading, writing, preparing for teaching and all these kinds of things. And actually my health went way down. I've had several kinds of things happen in terms. I still do because I don't subscribe to that kind of way of life anymore. I'm not disciplined in many ways for those reasons. I tell myself that I'm going to do it and then I don't. It's a discipline and it's a good one, and I've lost touch with that, or it essentially dismembered myself from that kind of way of life in order to put into place the fact that oftentimes you need to get away from constantly thinking about your work.
Sometimes academy can be quite a very toxic place, and a place that even molds you into something you're not. And it's interesting because right now I'm going through my own struggle of a lot of change that's happening on campus. People have been giving me advice like, you better start standing out, you better start speaking out, you need to be out there. And they know it's not my style. And someone even said, I know it's countercultural, but you just got to do it. And I really thought about that, and I've actually been thinking about it, that it's those kinds of things where you really have to think about how much you conform to those expectations and standards without losing your true self. I think running is one way that I just process some of that. I think about it.
I have to say that I don't fully know my own identity. That has been a work in progress of who I am. It is a bit difficult in my own predicament determining which side I wouldn't say I identify with most, but trying to find that balance between the two and still trying to learn more about my Navajo side while not forgetting who I am on my Filipino side.
Running, I feel like definitely for me was an avenue to get off the reservation. It was like a way for me to get another avenue for me to get into school so I could have these other resources to help me be successful. Running at the U of A in the institution, they definitely take care of you. They provide you shoes and clothes and tutors and just all these other avenues of resources, which I thought was super helpful. But I think some of the main challenges that I faced and the main differences that I saw running from back home compared to running at the U of A was just, and I think it's also a reflection of how our Native students feel when they enter into the institution, is this very individualistic framework. It's very competitive. It's about the time, you need to hit this certain time, you need to be at this certain pace. And like, for example, one time running at the U of A, we're out there, it's hot, and I stopped along the path for some water at a water fountain, and that was something that was not, I guess, was frowned upon. And I was told by the coach, you need to, this is the female head coach at the time, was you need to keep going, and why are you stopping type of stuff. And it's like, I'm thirsty. And compared to back home, it's like when we're out there running and we get into, maybe run past like a wash or a river, like right now how there's water in the river, we would play in it. You know, we would roll around and splash and have fun and then continue on running. And I think for me the biggest difference was that it wasn't as fun anymore. It was very much like strategic and very, you have to be at the next level, the next level, the next level. I think that was tough for me. And also like even just the nature of it. You know, when you're back home, you're running in the mountains. You're running with your res dogs with you, and you're running through the washes and the trails, and you see all these sights. And when you come out here, it's very much running through houses, running on the track, running on the golf course, and you don't really get to see as much nature as you do back home. And so I think that was also a difference I saw, and kind of a challenge for me as well, was I really did miss running on the different types of terrain, and just running on road, it just wasn't as fun. The team type of mentality was almost like I said, individualistic, so we were almost competing against each other to see who could travel. Compared to back home, you tie each other together in practice, so that way you can all move together. So that way the person who's ahead is pulling the people behind them. So it's very much a team effort that we want us to get to this place together, compared to the very, you have to beat each other to make travel team. And I could see that difference in the running, but even also in the institution as a student. And so, yeah, definitely parallels there. It's been a long journey. It's, like I said, 7 years and trying to finish my PhD. And now that I have this PhD completion award, I'm super psyched to just keep moving forward and keep thinking about the big picture. Like the big picture, what happens when I finally graduate and I can really start getting into the academy and start trying to make changes at the level of a PhD. Yeah, it's been a long journey, but I'm finally, I think, getting at a place where I'm happy. You know, I'm happy with the work that I'm doing, and I'm actually looking forward to the next steps. I'm looking forward to collecting my data. I'm looking forward to hearing what students have to say and their experiences in the institution as well.
When I started working at the University of Arizona, it was eye-opening for me knowing that there was very few Native American faculty and staff. And being Tohono member, and where the university sits on traditional Tohono land, I felt really good, and I really felt that it was my place to be working at the university to support student staff with what knowledge I have about the Tohono, but also to exercise what I have. You know, running has been a part of my life, and I always encourage students and interact with other staff and faculty that do exercise, and it's a good way of interacting and creating those networking and partnerships. To male students who are wanting to pursue higher education, is to really look deep down in yourself to see how you can change the world, how you can change the image of Native men going to higher education, and always keeping prayer in your life to work through. That's the only way that I think that helped me get to where I'm at now. And always look up for guidance from mentors, elders, community members to give you that guidance. And it's going to be a scary moment at times, but as male figures, we've always been warriors to lead. And we do need a lot more males to lead in higher education.
$11 of them ended up going to Carlisle, Pennsylvania as prisoners of war, and they were at Carlisle for 5 years from 1907 to 1912. It's my own theorizing about Tewanima, because he was someone who was a married man, had a family, was already taking care of a cornfield, and also was a sheep herder. That in some ways, when they took him away, that's all he knew. and he took that with him to Carlisle. And of course, the education system there and the curriculum wasn't about educating them. It was about domesticating them. The running was something that was a part of him. He found an outlet on the track team. The story goes that he would have never been considered a recruit because he was so little and he was so wiry. I think he was not immediately embraced in his efforts to become a recruit, but he was persistent. So he was allowed to demonstrate his ability. And of course, he was the one who initiated the contact with the coach, Pop Warner, at the time, and said, he wanted to run. He was recognized as a runner. And he was there in 1907, and the first Olympics that he went to was in 1908. So, Olympians typically have years of training, rigorous training, and essentially Tewanima did. I mean, that was his whole life. He had no breaks in his training in terms of a recruit as a member of a track team. He was there for a year already in 1907 and then went in 1908. But in that period of time, I'm sure the time to adapt and acclimate to his surroundings and then to find a spot where he felt he could continue to be who he was probably less than a year. As far as navigating, he did do that. He just found the perfect outlet for continuing what he was doing. So I guess you could call that navigating. He did navigate by understanding how he would go forward and offer his skills there. For the most part, he was very successful in those years. But from what I understand of him, just from listening to stories of my mother, who knew him when he came back home and brought all his trophies, all the things that he won, they were insignificant to him. She remembers that he used to let them play with his medals, and she just remembered them as being little round silver things. In a reading about him, because there's more published about him now, there were times when he just went away from the running event, and just didn't even take his award with him, and people had to give it to him or take it to him, because this kind of tradition was his strength. It allowed him to remain Hopi, to borrow from the literature, and he essentially, his time in Carlisle was an interruption of his life trajectory. It was temporary. He knew he was going to go home, so that when he finally got back home, he just resumed his life as previously he was living it, which was to go back to the cornfields and go back to tend to his sheep and continue with his role in the ceremonies in his village. And then he never really talked about it. People just, he was back home essentially. There was no fanfare around him, but occasionally the visibility of his fame was that people would come and invite him to different events. They would come out to see him and visit him. So there were always those kinds of visible, occurrences that told us the outside world knew him or knew about him. I really feel when I think about him today that he's really exemplary and a case of how strong culture is, that if you have a foundation in your cultural identity and the history, it provides you with your cultural map that you can take anywhere and always know that you're okay. Overall, I constantly think of him as having not changed one bit. He went as a Hopi to Carlisle. He stayed as a Hopi all during that time, and he came right back into that way of life.
From the outside, most people wouldn't know that deep down, I'm in pain. In a sense, the trauma that I've experienced when I was younger has caught up to me at the age of 33. Dealing with trauma is tough. An important detail for you to know about my journey. When I was a sophomore at the University of Arizona, I became a born-again Christian, which means I fully surrendered and committed my heart to serving Jesus. That decision changed my life forever, here in the day-to-day and in eternity. Now a glimpse of my healing journey. There were a few times in the fall of 2018 and spring of 2019 semester that I didn't know what life was for me anymore. For several moments, I lost my sense of value, esteem, and worthiness. Through therapy and conversations with people I love, I realized that as an adult, my mental well-being and coping skills have been anchored in the past, specifically between the ages of 6 to 15. I'm working on leaving the hurtful things in the past and pressing on to what God has for me in the future. And quite honestly, I'm still figuring out how to share my healing testimony. But you can ask me later. I'll tell you. I've seen a lot of hurt in my life. I've seen a lot of hurt in the days gone by. But the Spirit of God is healing me where I am deeply wounded. The hurt that has been inflicted upon me, heavy-handedness, taken advantage of, God is breaking that over my life. Being a student and dealing with trauma is really tough. My first year in the higher education program, I took 8 classes and finished my written comprehensive exams. However, my second year, I've basically taken 2 semesters off so that I could heal. Although the academy can be a hostile place, especially for Indigenous students and other underrepresented populations, ironically, the academy, or rather the people in the academy, can also create a loving, encouraging, and welcoming space that helps students like me thrive. Through this difficult time, there have been many faculty, staff, and administrators who consistently check in with me. Whether it's a hug, a Facebook message, or supporting my creative endeavors, I'm so grateful for my support system on campus. Day by day, as I begin to let the Lord heal my heart, I begin to understand more about what I'm designed to do. I have a future full of brilliance. The restoration of my mental and emotional well-being can only be made complete by the Lord. So how does this all relate to running? When I run, the Lord gives me a space and a place to process all that He's doing in my life. There are many times that when I run, I hear the Lord speak to me promises about the present and future, and I am deeply encouraged by that. The Lord has given me a vast support system, which is filled with many people and 4-legged friends who love me. I'm so thankful for them and the ability to run and be outside in the open air. Runners come in all kinds of shapes, sizes, and speeds. Some of us even have more love handles than others, but that's okay. As my mom says, all that matters is that you are out there moving your body. We all move at our own pace, and that is beautiful. Our narratives as Indigenous runners are threaded together in a special way. On my journey to learn from other runners, I've learned a lot. Tewanima and Dr. Nicholas' stories inspired me to create this film. Mid-semester, Dr. Nicholas attended a gathering at the former grounds of Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania. She shared with others about her clan father, Tewanima, and his journey as a Hopi runner. When Dr. Nicholas returned back to our class, she shared about her trip. She mentioned how she met a descendant of Tom Torlino, who is known for being one of the most recognized people in the before and after photographs captured in the boarding school era. Tewanima's story impacted me as a runner, so much so that I chose to create a film about Indigenous runners for my final project. As I began to share pieces of my film on social media, I soon realized that many people were interested in seeing the project. And that's how this movie was birthed. Dr. Nicholas is family. In the academy, she has provided comfort and support when I needed it. And I'm so thankful for that. If I ran with Tewanima today, he could easily leave me in the dust. But I imagine that he would run next to me to help me rise to the next level. Just like how his clan daughter, Dr. Nicholas, is helping me rise to new levels in the academy. In the summer of 2018, I met Alpha Joy over 8,000 miles overseas on a study abroad trip to Australia and Tasmania. We developed a sisterly bond, and I love her, and I love her name. I frequently ask her if I can name my future daughter Alpha Joy, and she consistently tells me no because she wants to be the only Alpha Joy. But she did say I can name my future daughter Beta Joy. I don't quite know about that though, but maybe she'll say yes today. You always need someone faster than you. Someone who has more endurance, and someone who will wait for you at the finish line. I'm only faster than Alpha Joy running downhill. See, look, I'm beating her.
I hate running down.
On all levels, from students to faculty to staff, Indigenous men are vastly underrepresented in higher education. Our Indigenous brothers play a critical role in the sustainability and longevity of our communities. Alejandro, Jesse, and Isaac are warriors in the academy. They have been richly equipped with cultural knowledge to help them navigate the world around them. Be encouraged, young Indigenous brothers, that people like Alejandro, Jesse, and Isaac are creating pathways for you in higher education and beyond. Lydia is one of the fastest runners I know. As an avid runner, I asked her, "How many medals do you have?" And she told me, "It doesn't matter." Just like Tewanima, running is not for show or accolades. Running is a way of life that replenishes and strengthens Lydia. She created the Sko Runden events, which encourages runners at any level, especially Indigenous runners, to trail run and explore new running paths. I admire her desire to make running more accessible for all levels and abilities. Karen is one of the first administrators I met at the U of A in 2004, and I was Tiffany's resident advisor as an undergraduate. Now, years later, we all are doctoral students in the same higher education graduate program at the U of A. For many years, Karen has served Indigenous students at the U of A. I'm so grateful for that because she has paved many pathways in higher education for me and thousands of other students to thrive in the academy and beyond. As for Tiffany, when I was her resident advisor as an undergraduate, I seemed so much older than her, but actually I'm only 2 years older than her. It's funny how time works. Along with other Indigenous graduate students, we encourage each other in the academy. Every student in college needs a peer group, and I'm so thankful that Tiffany and I are on this journey together. The ability to run with a parent is very special. I have a theory that when you get older, you grow stronger and faster. It's true. Ask my mom. I've run a few half marathons with my mom, and I try my best to run as fast as her. but every time she beats me by a long mile. It's encouraging to see her end the race stronger and faster than when she began the race. My mom was a teen mom. As a single parent, she took care of my sister Meredith and me with limited resources. I honor her because through many trials and tribulations, she often coped through healthy outlets, which directly impacted my sister and me, like serving as an example to earn a degree from an institution of higher learning. I'm not a first-generation college student. In fact, my mom, sister, and me take the ranks among many other family members who have earned a bachelor's degree or higher. As Indigenous people, you cannot stereotype us. We move at our own paces as runners and as scholars. Our narratives vary, but at the core, we deeply care about our communities, our people, and our well-being.
It's one life to live.
When one of us wins, we all win. One step at a time, we run in a way that helps us win the race. We are here for the long run.